For the October 10th, 2019 Traffic Safety, Bikeways, and Pedestrian Committee. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the September meeting. Comments, motion?
I move to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any abstentions
I
or?
have to abstain because I wasn't here.
Okay, so we have an abstention. I'll give Kathy a moment to decide if she wants to abstain.
We're doing the minutes.
Yeah, we're just approving the minutes.
Okay, sorry, I'm late.
That's okay. Did you want to say anything about the minutes or vote?
No, they're fine.
Okay. All right. Next on the agenda is the appearance of interested citizens, and this is a time for citizens to come up with any issues that are not on the agenda tonight, and it looks like we have some folks.
All 100 of us.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll do one at a time and we'll make it through. So whoever, was there a sign-up sheet? Well, we'll have one of you come up, state your name and your address, your city of residence. You can sit down and talk into the microphone. The light should be on.
Hello. My name is Walter Schock. I live at 1322 Mandarin Street Northeast. And
Thank you.
there's a huge forum with a whole bunch of people talking on it. I assumed this whole room would be full today, and I'm really surprised. It looks like there's 3 of us here, maybe.
Or actually.
The issue is people speeding in the neighborhoods. And on Mandarin Avenue today, a motorcycle police officer showed up. He wasn't there 10 minutes and he pulled, okay, so he's sitting there. This guy comes by about 50 miles an hour. And I just said, awesome. He pulled him over. And then as soon as he got done with him, he stopped somebody else. But then he left. And then it's funny because he's pulling people over down there. And as soon as they get past him, they're doing 50 down Mandarin. It just blows me away. I'm retired. There's a couple reasons why I have to bring this up. The neighbor's cat got smashed. The whole street was full of women bawling their heads off, and I had to remove a warm, fuzzy creature out of the street. It was a huge splat of blood. The woman was speeding, and she hit the cat and killed him. It was nasty. I won't show you the picture.
Thank you.
The thing is, for me, I'm retired. I live there. I got a 2-car garage. I tinker with stuff all day long. I'm an automotive technician, but I don't do that anymore, and I fix chainsaws and work on stuff. Anyway, I buried a child. I buried a blonde-haired, blue-eyed child, and there's nothing more unnatural, and there's no way to explain that to you unless you've stood there and done that yourself. Every time somebody comes through our neighborhood, they're using it as a shortcut. I'm sure you're all aware of that. It's an absolute shortcut. A lot of the streets are. When they come speeding by 50 miles an hour, my heart rate goes up and I feel like I'm going to stroke out. It kills me 60 times a day, and I can only stay out there and work in my shop so long before I have to go take a break from the people stressing me out. One day, I walked out to my truck to get in, and I always look both ways because people are usually speeding. I looked down the street and I saw 3 headlights that all looked about the same size. That's very unusual because cars don't have 3 headlights. I looked. It was a young woman, road raging, an elderly woman who was doing the speed limit. So I look and I go, what in the world? So she was edging over to the side of this woman so I could see her headlight. And then she floored her car. Her car was screaming like an interceptor, came right past me, and I went like this. She slammed her brakes on. She had to go 3 houses to stop. That's how fast she's going in a 25-mile-an-hour zone with no posted speed limit. Mm-hmm. She backed up. I walked around her car to talk to her, and she shot me in the face with mace. Oh. I got maced on Mandarin Street because I went to talk to somebody that was speeding. I called the cops. I gave them her license number. She was cute and young. She probably just talked her way out. The officer called me and said we didn't have enough evidence to do anything. I would have pressed charges. I was assaulted. And all I want to do is there's some beautiful little kids. on Mandarin Street. A lot of beautiful little kids. There's a lot of dumb cats that wander in the street, and we got an awesome cat everybody loves, and nobody wants to see him get smashed. But the issue really is children. I can't believe how many times I've seen the little kids, they'll go right out in the street on their bicycles, and they don't even look. And I swear I've seen people do 60 miles an hour on Mandarin Street. That just blows me away. I ride a motorcycle, so I've been doing it for 45 years. I got a pretty good idea how fast people are going. Anyway, my quality of life sucks because I live on a street with no posted speed limit, no speed bumps, and speeders. I call it a freeway. Now I've seen one, I'm only gonna say one more thing and then I'll shut up. I've seen some streets in Kaiser that have a barricade in the middle. I'd totally help, I'd volunteer all my time to help build a barricade, and then this half of the street can use that 14th and that half can use trail. I'd be great with that. I was gonna pass around flyers and get signatures. I don't know what it would take. There's a bad speeding issue. In fact, on the way here, there was somebody, we pulled to a stop sign, and somebody came by about 45 miles an hour. It's a different neighborhood. I'm just thinking, wow, we got a real problem in Kaiser. It's speeding. These people don't live there. Their kids, their cats ain't in the street. They don't care. They're looking straight ahead, and I don't know what they're thinking about, but it's sociopathic behavior really bothers me. I'll shut up now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Before you sit down, can I ask one question?
Please.
Clarifying, Mandarin, which side of River?
I think he says Mandarin.
Mandarin as in
Mandarin?
orange.
Okay.
By 14th Street,
Near
about
14th.
three houses up from 14th Street on Mandarin.
So it cuts down towards River Road?
No, it goes between Trail and 14th.
14th and Trail are the streets that go this way. People come from the freeway, they still think they're on the freeway, they come down Mandarin and they head that way and they head up to River Road.
Shortcut to.
So, thank you. I just wanted to clarify
Yeah.
the location
If
in my
you go
mind.
stand there for 2 minutes, it's a great looking
Yeah,
neighborhood.
it is.
Okay.
No, I'm telling you, if a cop was to stay there all day, he could give a ticket every 5 minutes. And what's unreal is a lot of, these people look like real nice people driving way over the speed limit in our neighborhood. It's pretty ridiculous. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
My name is Jim Byrons, B-Y-R-N-A-S, and I live at 1362 Mandarin Street for the last 48 years. March the 3rd, 1971, I moved in. No problem in the neighborhood at that time. 14 didn't exist north up in Lock Haven. So we had a little area there that we could sort of hide. And then the city of Salem at the time, before Kaiser was there, decided to make our street an access for the chariot buses. And that started the ball rolling. I've been here before, years ago, when we fought the same issue, and it'll go on for another X amount of years before anything, if anything's ever done about it. We have the Meadows and McNary Estates comes out to get on the freeway, north and south, choose to go through Lock Haven as opposed to going north to Brooks. And so when they come to the stoplight by McNary, the traffic signal, they turn left and they funnel on Manzanita and they go 1 block south, Mandarin, that's us. Some even go all the way to Lock Haven, but it's to avoid the traffic signal. And so through the years, and I still have my garage right now, we put up, well, Trevor was a, Kaiser, I don't know if he's still here or not, he had a scooter or motorcycles, and so we took a photograph of him broadside, and we painted on a 3/8 piece of plywood, Trevor, on his motorcycle. And we have a mannequin, so we set it out there, perfect. Traffic slows down when they see it. So to store it, I cut it in half, put a hinge on it, so it was easier for somebody to steal. And so somebody did steal it. So I have a mannequin of a full size of Elvis Presley. So I put Elvis out there. It's just a black uniform. He slowed down traffic for a while. Well, then they borrowed him. Well, I got him back after a little foot chase, but I got the top hat. Bottom half of Elvis is still missing. So then I got a mannequin of a race car driver from Daytona 500. I brought it all the way back and folded it. I have it in my garage. I put a black jacket on him. I cut out a silver star and I put him out there on a post. He helped for a while too, but he came up missing, but I got him back. So that's what we've had to do on the street. We talked to you about, not you, but we talked to some of you about speed bumps. I know they're effective. They are very effective. There's some over there off Silverman Road. They said there was a liability aspect that we couldn't have speed bumps. And okay, I can understand that. People, if they're speeding and hit those speed bumps, some things can happen. In fact, creates a liability to the city of Kaiser. So be it if they're speeding. If they're not speeding, I have no idea why we couldn't implement something like that on a street. Now, just recently, like the last 3 or 4 days, I call them a newbie, because everybody's a newbie to me on that street. I live on the east end, 2 houses from 14th. On the west end, a couple houses, lady called and complained, and they brought out the markers for the speed.
Right down.
Well, they put one, maybe this is for a reason and I just don't understand. They put one just a couple 100 feet from the stop sign, indicating the speed going west. I mean, nobody's going to be 250 feet before the traffic or the stop sign are going to be doing 40 and 50 miles an hour like they are up the street. So I fail to see how that one can be effective. And then for the eastbound, it's about a block, less than a block, on the south side of the street for eastbound traffic. Well, by the time they go by that and their indicated speed is whatever, they forgot about that by the time they go 4 or 5 more blocks to where you get in front of my house or a 14th. And all of us neighbors waltz one that we yell at them, and we're number 1 every time. And then when they sort of like to get back at us, you know, slow down, or just go like that when I'm walking my puppy twice a day to the park. I just go like that, slow down. Well, then, that's when you get to be number 1. And then when they get to the stop sign, they're going to show they gun it around the stop sign. So you haven't done anything. You haven't completed anything. You've created more of a problem than what's already existed with just the speed. Because they retaliate against you. And they've done it since day 1. I was in law enforcement for 20 plus years. And when before Kaiser was here, we didn't have any troubles. We caused things to happen in those days. We had a lot less people, and you can do a lot more in those days than you can today. So widespread. But if you see a policeman on our street outside, and I know there's a lot of streets in this city that can say the same thing, and they can only do so much. And I'm not here knocking the man either, because I know what it was like out there. But if you see a policeman driving on our street without having somebody complain, he's being detoured. But he's not going to drive that on our street without having to. It's just the way it works. That's the main artery when you're going from the Meadows and McNary to get to I-5. You're going to come up that stop sign, turn left, just sit there, just bumper to bumper to bumper to bumper. Manzanita, Mandarin. Manzanita, Mandarin. And I think it's a challenge when they split up there. One goes Manzanita, one turns right to go down to Mandarin. They're going to see who can get to 14th first. 14th and lock it, or who can get the traffic signal first. It's a mess, and it's every day, every morning. There's no stop to it. We all like this part of it. We're on the Christmas tree hunt. You can't even get in my driveway, and that's fine. That's for a period of time, and everybody expects it and wants it. We can't get in our driveway. You can't leave. You can't jump in the car and go to the store and come back. You get in the car and go to the store, you're not going to be back for a while. So, and every neighborhood in this city has got a problem of some sort. But when it comes to the speeders, that's where it's critical, in my estimation. When you're talking about people that are late for work, and I'm not knocking ladies either, but put on your makeup before you leave. They come by and you even got mirrors on your steering wheel. And you see it. I mean, it's there, and I'm not exaggerating. And I don't know what guys do, but I know they're doing something wrong too.
Yeah, shaving.
But I'm sure
I sympathize with you greatly there. I think, as you've mentioned, each neighborhood has some traffic issues. However, I do think the streets that you're mentioning, Mandarin and Manzanita, as I went through that neighborhood recently for a different reason, you do have a long straight stretch of road that is built wider than it should be for a residential area, you know?
Speak up, you can't hear.
He's having.
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
He's just,
And
yeah.
slowly, because
Yeah.
you've got hearing aids. You have
Okay.
hearing aids, or you
No,
you're just hard of hearing.
there's a reason I don't have them, but I don't have them right now.
I think your street Mandarin
Uh-huh.
is a particular concern because it's such a long and straight street
It
with
is.
no curvature, nothing to.
No obstruction.
Yeah, no
Right.
obstruction. It's much too wide for the purpose that it's serving in a residential area. It appears to be built as if it was supposed to be something bigger than it is. So I guess one question I have for you is how many cars are parked up and down the street? And also, I guess a question for Sergeant Leday and for Public Works, I guess, with the width of that street. I mean, what is the city's experience with that street as far as your enforcement and monitoring efforts, and also with planning to calm the traffic in a street, especially like Mandarin and Manzanita, that are straight for such a long distance?
I think it's a standard 42-foot street.
Curb to
Curb to
curb,
curb.
32
And-
probably?
No,
And I think if you park
42.
two cars on your required by laws, one of these deals that we fought told us that you'd have 14 feet between them. Well, 14 feet, we used to stagger cars.
Yeah.
And people, the speeders get upset with you because we put raised tees. There's two people on my street that have been there longer than me. They were there when I moved in. And we used to stagger cars, go across the street purposely to
Good.
slow you down. Because one coming this way, somebody's have to slow down because you're 14 feet, two cars can't pass. So, and then we do that down in my end, we still do it. Because it does slow them down.
Good.
Because they can't get through there. But it would require them.
Require everybody up and down the street to partner with their neighbor
Right.
to do the
But
same thing.
everybody parks in
yeah.
their driveway.
Unless we can introduce something else on the street to create that narrow look.
He's ready to answer your question.
Sorry.
so Sergeant Leday?
So to respond, we've actually had one complaint there since I took over the traffic unit again back in last November. And that was just a few weeks ago that we actually got the first complaint. So since then, I deployed both the radar trailers that were out there, and I've actually been out there twice. My other partner, Motor, has been out there twice. He was actually just out there this evening also.
I think.
The problem that we have right now is that we cannot spend all day on that road. What I could not get from that formal complaint was an exact time other than it's all the time. We have to, well, I can tell you the last two times that I've been out there, I can count on one hand how many cars went by in a half hour, so I had to go hit some other problem areas.
Well, you
So I
should come
suspect-
out during the daylight then.
Oh, Sergeant,
And besides that, I don't expect you to be out there all the time, Sergeant.
I
And I'm not knocking, I'm not knocking the law enforcement either. I know you guys are busy in what you've got. But she's even a complainant. When she first moved in,
So I have intimate knowledge of Mandarin, as I live on it. And I've been there for 5 years, and that was one of the first things I noticed was that cars drive fast. It's not an all-day thing, but certainly morning rush hour, people going to the highway, or evenings, people coming back from the highway. So certainly it's not a 24/7 problem, but it can be a problem, and not everyone drives super fast, but there are people who feel like 35, 40 is comfortable speed down that street. So, and I know everyone I've talked to on the street has complained about it, but I think this call you guys got this week or last week was probably someone just finally fed up with it. So,
Actually, a lot of people are.
oh, I'm sure, I think they're fed up enough to call is what I meant.
Yeah, to do a formal complaint.
I would say Pat's right, and you even alluded to it, getting people to park on the street, at least one car, narrow that lane, that helps.
it does help. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'd like to say something.
Could you come back up then if you're gonna?
If I could finish what I was talking about.
Yeah.
So in order for us to be effective, we need to know the most narrowed down times when we have these issues. That's been an answer that I have not been able to get. So we not only have to be effective, but we have to be efficient. We have 40,000 people that we have to serve.
Yes.
And if we can narrow those times down, normally we can actually get people to slow down at least for a period of time with that unexpected enforcement.
We could start with the rush hours, the
Yeah,
morning and the evening.
I'm there all the time. There's weeks I don't leave home because I'm retired. I just hang out. So after listening to everything else, go ahead.
Again, a rush hour, we have different times that people are commuting. We have 7 o'clock, we have 8 o'clock, and we have 9 o'clock, different times where we actually have traffic flows because of our schools and such. What is the worst hour block that you have in the morning?
I haven't paid attention to that, but I'll get that to you.
Well, I can tell you, when I leave before 7 a.m., it takes a while to get out of my driveway because all the cars have been down.
Probably daylight then, huh?
So,
So the 7 o'clock hour,
so
Yeah.
between 7 and 8,
the 5 o'clock hour, yeah.
we can definitely work on that.
Comment.
I don't know, my question was, what about long-term effects? Like Manzanita, there were stop signs installed at whatever the cut-through street. So we have a cut-through street there at the park that we could have stop signs at.
That would be a
Speed humps
deterrent.
have been, shot down.
That would be more.
A stop sign
We need
at that
something-
cut-through street.
We
would
need something more permanent and effective.
So I only have two things to say. One is, if you put speed bumps, speed limit signs and everything on my street,
Sorry, technical
I'm sorry.
issues.
If you put-
hear him, and I did tell him not to press the button.
if you totally lock down my street and get rid of the speeders, they're just gonna find another street. Another idea is just add a couple of cops and pay their salary with the tickets. Years ago, I don't know how many years ago, I was scared to go to Kaiser. I drive the speed limit, I completely stop at stop signs. I was told years ago, don't go to Kaiser because they'll give you a ticket for nothing. I'd love for it to be that way again. Because there's plenty of people breaking the law. If we had some more policemen and just, when people break the law, give them a damn ticket. They'll slow down. If, that ruins your day and stays on your mind for a while. I haven't had a ticket in a long time, but I remember the last time I got one. I didn't like it. Anyway, more policemen, or I'd be totally in favor of barricading those roads right in the middle and then just let everybody go the other way. Because it's endangering children, and that's my main point. Cats are one thing, everybody loves them, but a child is something else. And it's stressing me out. Whenever I see a speeder, they're totally unaware. I mean, I go like this, they don't see me. They're not looking around or nothing. They're unaware. They're thinking of what they're going to do at work, what they're going to do when they get home or something. Anyway, it's about the children for me. It really stressed me out. I've seen my child in a coffin. It's not good. It just flashes in my head. When I see somebody speeding on the street, something needs to be done.
So I guess ultimately we're wondering, what are the options? And what do we as residents need to do?
What do we got to do? I'll organize anything you want.
So number one, barricade in the middle there, that's probably not going to happen. There's something called the Neighborhood Traffic Management Plan, and you go door to door and you get 75% of the people on the street to sign the petition, and that starts the ball rolling to certain steps to get to where we want to get to as far as the issue at hand. So
Is this an
that
official form or?
yes,
It is, yeah.
And there's something that we can give you,
Okay.
and you can go from there, and it gets the police involvement, it gets traffic counts, it gets speed involved, and it just kind of plays out. If it meets certain criteria, then we go from there. If it doesn't meet that criteria, then we don't, and so that's where it's at. And it's designed so there aren't speed bumps all over Kaiser. I mean, there'd be issues for that, and so,
I
like
would
I said.
find that a pain in the butt, but honestly, we're looking for safety.
Oh, and completely understand. So, I mean, start there definitely, and it calls out where it's at, what the issue is, and we go from there and meet certain criteria, so.
I hate speed bumps. Speed bumps tell me that people are being ignorant. They're not respecting pedestrians or other people. There's a place, I don't remember where it was. There's like 20 speed bumps in a parking lot. There's a reason for that. Nobody obeys the law. They don't care. I wish people would just obey the law.
Did you sign in with your email addresses when you signed in?
We have yours, Walt, right?
Yes.
Walt?
Yes.
We can
Okay, but
send-
we don't have yours. If we could get you to put yours,
This
I
is
can.
my lady.
Okay, so I'll email you, it's on our website, but I'll email you the document and you can print it out and go get your signatures.
I'll get on it.
Okay?
Hirsch, you have a comment or question?
I just kind of, the area that you lived in, I grew up in when it was being built back in the late 50s, early 60s. That was county. The developer had these wide expanses of road and everything. And as you described, we have grown. The patterns on I-5 have completely changed. I remember when there was no interchange at Chamawa, you just drove over the freeway. All those impact our neighborhoods. The process that Mike's described, I actually got to participate in doing that a number of years on my street over Main Avenue. And it'll surprise you that there'll be a number of neighbors that, although there's a problem, don't want any change. That's why it's so important that if you guys get your, everybody's gonna laugh, ducks in a row, I'm a beaver. Then it gives far more power to the city to proceed ahead. Because you'd be surprised, a few people, I was part of the infamous Main Avenue group, and we didn't get a lot of things because we didn't get our act together.
I'll do all the groundwork.
Yeah.
So real quick, this is quite a lengthy procedure once you start it. And so I just can suggest to give our fine police officers a chance first and see where that goes and then go down, the other path.
I wish I could do something to see one every day. I would love that.
But
I yelled at the guy, thank you, as loud as I could.
What I can tell you is when that reputation with Kaiser was there, I was one of those motors that was in that group of that reputation.
Thank you.
We have to have an opportunity to solve problems. So again, we serve 40,000 people. So we have different areas. So when we go and we flood an area, usually we can curb things down for several months, and then it has to take a repeat. We just did not get the complaint down this stretch before to where it was showing that it was becoming as big as a problem as how you guys are expressing it now. If it becomes that kind of focal point, give us a chance first. We'll do whatever we can to try and curb it. And if we can't, then I would suggest maybe we take additional steps. But again, this is kind of one of those new areas that I believe that we can actually slowly curb the problem in those aspects.
I'd love to see more.
We lost the unit for 5 years, so there was a loss of presence for a while.
We have a big cat. Everybody knows him. He's dumb. He wants in and out of the house 50 times a day, and he knows what he wants, but I don't know why. And he'll go out on the road, and one evening, somebody banged on our door and said a cat got smashed in the road. Popped his eye right out of his head. It was horrific. Everybody freaked out. and we thought it was our cat. So we run out there, it's right in front of our house. I thank God it wasn't our cat, but unfortunately, it was somebody's cat. It was terrible.
David, yes.
I have another, you were looking for something to do. I was on the budget, like you have nothing else to do. If you're really seriously interested in increasing police presence within Kaiser, which doesn't necessarily mean your neighborhood only, but the city's budget committee is open to the public, and I was on it 2 or 3 times, and it's amazing how few people show up and ask for, it's an empty house when you're, doing the budget. But, and I'm not even sure it's going to work, because policemen are they're worth it, but they're very expensive. You can't find money in like today's budget for this year to even come close. And it takes a long time to get them. But somebody needs to show up at those budget committee meetings as a group, not necessarily individually. Yeah. You show up with a petition with 10 people, it'll make somewhat of an impact. And that occurs...
It starts in May, doesn't it?
It starts before that. Well, excuse me, where you could come in is probably in May, is that correct, Counselor?
The first one is May 2nd.
Yeah.
May 2nd. And I'm not sure when
no,
public...
It's,
Oh, wait. Oh, I'm looking at 19. I don't have the 20.
it's usually the first Tuesday and Thursday of May is budget.
Yeah, it's in the newspaper, but, and I'm not sure which night is open for public comment.
Both nights.
Both nights are. So it's like here, sign up and you can have your say.
I'll show up.
Yes,
And I'll try to get as many people to show up.
it would be appreciated.
So I'm going to get the ball rolling. I'm going to go door to door. I'm going to talk to everybody on my street. I'm going to say, are you in this or not? Because
Yeah.
I need to know how many people are going to sign up.
Yeah.
Wayne has.
I have one idea also. You're in the Gupser neighborhood.
Yeah.
And you may want to attend the Gupser Neighborhood Association meetings. They're monthly,
Thursdays.
or Thursday at 6, I believe.
Fourth Thursday here is.
And you might generate more people that want to support your position here.
Fourth Thursday at 6?
7.
There's the electronic sign out in front. It'll be up there on
I
that.
think it's at 7 though, here.
Yeah, I think it's at 7.
I
Not in
know
this room, but.
Yeah,
down on 14th, down by your end of the street, you'll see a sign.
Okay, I've seen that.
They put,
Mike, is 14th where we put the new right-hand turn,
Yes.
yeah.
which is going to increase the access to 14th Street? So I don't know if it'll increase it, but it'll make it a lot easier.
It was a
So it's-
welcome
No,
thing.
that's a nice
Well, I
thing.
see it's going to increase your problem.
Yeah, but it makes it safer, and it makes the traffic flow better at that intersection. The huge problem is just population explosion.
Well-
Oregon's getting flooded, and there's so many people living out there, and they go through our neighborhood. You know what? 98% of the people I see every day out there, they don't live there, and I've never seen them before.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have control over that.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking a whole lot of cops might be good, because that sounds like the only option, really. We'll see.
I just wanted to have you do, when you're doing some of your looking, you talked about speed bumps. That is just one tool, and the term that we want to use is traffic calming devices.
Okay.
And there's a lot out there. Some are expensive, some are cheap. Planters in the middle, well, that is a traffic calming. City of Salem has put a whole bunch on Maple Street as part of the scenic bikeway. And if you just go down Maple, you can see what's been done in that neighborhood. And I would check those out. But the regular traditional, what we see in a parking lot, speed bumps are old fashioned, so to speak.
And we,
Fire department anyway.
Right.
and we probably wouldn't want speed bumps. We might consider something like speed humps, which are easier to
Well, and that's what you
roll
would
over.
see. Also, the studies have shown that just a different shade of color on a street acts the same way. Trees on the street that appear to make the street narrower will slow traffic down.
Well, Mandarin, the houses are all far from
I
the
know,
street.
it's-
And there is no stop sign, there's not a speed limit sign on our street, period. There's nothing. People, and you know what's really funny? People are going by the speed checkers right now, and I watched them. As soon as they get past them, they floor it, and they go boom, and they go zinging by. I don't know why that
Well,
is.
They'll work on it.
Yeah.
I think like what Sergeant Lede said, you give him times, specific times, he can have a motor cop out there. It only takes that person that ticket one time and they'll slow down, right?
Yeah.
So it may take a while to get them all, but I mean, that's the only way though they can solve these issues.
Hell yeah.
Because we all have that issue on our street, but if we can give these guys a time,
We can track it.
that big heavy time, they're gonna be on it. Okay, because we got a police fee now, and we hired more police officers just so we could get more motor cops on board.
Awesome.
We'll track time.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're going to track times.
Perfect.
So
That's perfect.
volume.
I think, yeah, so we'll send you the form.
Sure.
Or the link to the form. We can talk some more, figure out the most effective time for an officer to be
I'll get right
there.
back to you.
And we will, and if you want to come
And the
back.
neighborhood association, they're very effective.
Yeah. we'll
I
meet
have
with
eyes
them.
on the street all day.
Yeah.
If you have any trouble with the form,
Yo, we've,
2 or 3 of us have volunteered to help you with it.
yeah.
Just give us a call, we'll come over.
And he's gonna give you his card, Sergeant Lede, so you can email him those times.
That's awesome. I really appreciate it. Today, when I saw that motor cop, he's sitting there, and this car comes probably 50 miles an hour. It's a little Honda Civic with a wing on the back. He was having a bad day because that guy put on his lights, and if I could have did a backflip without breaking my neck, I would have did it today. 'Cause I was so happy.
You'll get it.
Okay,
Take one.
well,
You'll get it.
thank you.
Thank you.
So that, do you have an
He's going
email?
40?
I've been talking to the
Okay,
motor officer
good.
that was.
Awesome.
Email doesn't
So he
lie.
was going
I
40
don't-
miles an hour?
I was gonna tell you, okay,
Yeah.
good,
Way
okay,
too
that's good,
fast.
then it should come through just fine.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
Best
It's
times.
that's
And then in
okay.
the
I-
evening
I
also,
can- It's
what
the same,
best times
well,
is.
I use his email.
And again,
Do you wanna
it's
write
just
your
gotta be
email on the
that
back of that
heaviest
card?
volume, worst times.
And then you can still take another.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, so let's move on with our meeting.
Sorry to hog all your time.
Thank you.
Genuine concern.
Yeah, yeah, you have a good evening. Okay, so the next thing was
You're welcome.
Public Works notification of projects to the committee. So the concept of what that means is when Public Works tells us about a project, we do hear about things that will happen, but it's the timing of when we hear about it. I don't think I speak just for myself in that if we could get some input early on into, say, a design or some part of it, that might bring up issues or concerns that might not have been automatically thought of when a project is being designed. I don't know if that means being told at the nascent idea stage or the 30% design stage. I don't know when, based on contracting, the city decides this is the plan and we can't change it at all or even minor.
So I'll definitely give you guys heads up on our projects. The design part, that's for our team to design and so on. Recommendations from you folks, of course, when you know about them and different ideas you have on certain projects, definitely are then to present to council and go from there with your recommendation and how you'd like to see something. But I'll definitely keep you apprised of issues, or projects that I know coming up. And I mean, the two right off the bat are Delight Street, which is coming down the pike, and the next one is we're paving River Road from Schmauer to the north, which is pretty much just it'll finish the River Road project off. So those are the two off the top of my head.
One of the best examples of what we're talking about was McLeod before the nursing homes were put in and before the project was even started. We brought up the issue of pedestrians, and we're able to, in the design, get that sidewalk really early on. And that's the kind of early enough to where we have some input, and it's not like, oh gosh, but but that was the best one this committee has done. We got in there early enough. We got that sidewalk. The Bonaventure agreed to some stuff, so it was all real early before cement and buildings were even on the ground.
Definitely, and some of that, I'm not privy to.
Oh,
So I do the best that I can, but something like that,
Well, that was before you came on the committee.
True.
But
Still.
But it was a good example of where we were able to give some good input for pedestrian flow early, and that was incorporated in the project.
Yeah, I guess, Mike, I appreciate you raising this issue, Chairman Mike, and I guess I would like to see it more formalized, and I guess I'd like to bounce that off the rest of the committee, because I'm thinking we've kind of raised this before and received a list maybe from the State Transportation Improvement Plan. Here's kind of a list of projects that are coming, or but I think maybe there's been some good examples, and then there's been others where we're like, oh, well, that was a missed opportunity. So I was thinking maybe if we had quarterly or something like that, every 2 or 3 months, have a list, and then to know where those projects are. Are they in the concept stage? Are they in the 30% or 50% design stage? Or are they getting further along, and kind of go down those projects and hear what is planned, and so that we have a more formalized opportunity to think about the projects, and if there's any opportunities that we don't want to miss.
So maybe those that I know are coming up and keep you apprised on, I can, keep Debbie informed, and she can send something out to those on the committee, just like, hey, here's where we're at, these 3 projects are coming up, we're at the beginning, or this one's done, or, well, I mean, you know what I'm saying.
Because Mike, doesn't the city have a list of projects that we do like every summer, that kind of thing too? I mean, Bill usually says they're sending out RFPs because we're going to do this project, like we're going to do the paving, or we're going to do the curbs, or we're going to do the sidewalks here. Don't we have a list of that, or no? The resurfacing, I know every year we do it, and we pick the certain streets, and we evaluate that. I'll be evaluating that here shortly for the following summer, not this coming summer, projects. They just come up. Delight Street, I'll just say that's been around for quite a while, but things like that, they come to the forefront.
But even with Delight Street, I mean, I made calls to try to get on the alert process from the school district to know what they're going to do. I don't really know what we're doing on Delight Street. What is the cross-section plan to be? How is it planned to interface with the schools project? I think our...
They're 2 separate things. The school's kind of on their own, and
but it shouldn't be really. It should be a consistent, integrated.
So the West Kaiser Neighborhood Association has actually been working on that, and they were trying to get the city to piggyback with the school district on that, to see where the school district was going to go with sidewalks, to see how we could further that.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a thing that was with the planning commission, not his department.
I was going to mention that we're talking.
Oh, my mic? Oh, sorry.
No, we're talking about public works, and that's the things, so far, everything we've mentioned really is the planning department, not public works. Public works does what has been planned. So if you're concerned about something like, should we put in a traffic circle on Verda, or on Wheatland Road at
Well, I think
Derrick Estates, we need to really read carefully the long-range plans that are printed.
Well, we've asked about.
I mean, they're
that was at the
printed
planning
documents.
stage, but I think a little bit different issue here is to know the projects that the city has committed to moving forward that have been incorporated in the plan and that are assigned a year that they're aiming to construct in. Those are kind of the ones that we want to track and know the scope of what they're going to include.
And I think that's what we're doing right now. The Delight Street's coming up, and I was going to give you a little tidbit on that. And the other one is the resurfacing. I mean, those are 2 pretty big projects. Other than normal things that happen just throughout the course of the year, there isn't anything at the forefront right now. And as those come up, I definitely fill you guys in.
For example, I mean, you mentioned the STIP, Pat, and there's the Verda Lane That's a huge project. And that's in the STIP, and I think maybe for next year, but this might be a good time that we could look at. And I don't know if that's Public Works or that's planning.
It's so far in the beginning that Bill hasn't even apprised me of that, so I can't speak on that.
But is that something Public Works will be in charge of, or the planning department, looking at the plans for Verta Lane and how they're gonna
Planning with Public Works overseeing it with, I think there was federal money involved in that maybe,
Yeah,
so it'll be, it's something like the roundabout was done. Someone from the outside actually managed that, and then we came in as a city and said, hey, we're watching, here's what needs to be done. So that's how that Verta one will be taken care of. And I don't have a lot of information on that right now. I do know it's coming up, but
Yeah.
So when I hear,
And then there's also the extension of Verta, which is maybe even further in the future, but that's,
to the north there,
Right.
across Lock Haven and
But it's
again.
in the plan.
right, but
No,
that's,
I was it's interesting, I was in the long-range plan. I was amazed at the number of people who didn't show up. And there were 2 people in 3 nights showed up. And so what we need to, if we're really serious about this, we need to be a little more proactive in showing up at the places which were meant for people to show up at.
was that,
But like at the long-range planning, where were we? I mean, I was there, but it's not for that reason,
but I think we're talking 2 separate things. We're talking long-range plan, and then we're talking stuff that's near-term, hasn't gotten fully designed yet. But
Like what, so? Can you give me an example?
Well, an example would be the curb ramps on River Road, I guess, be one example.
So, okay, so that's something I spoke on that was coming down, and we need to do those ramps for the River Road paving, so I guess that, I'm not sure what you would have done with that, but, I mean, I informed you it was happening and whatnot. I mean, that's a great, I brought you guys up to speed on that one, so I'm not.
Right, but not
not
to
sure.
the extent that we're the River Road paving project, and yes, it's a resurfacing project, but that also is going to include redoing the curb ramps at those corners. Well, a member of this committee would be concerned perhaps.
But
there's several styles of curb ramps. What style are they going to be? Are they going to be more accommodating to people turning corners quickly, or more accommodating to people crossing a street in a wheelchair?
So I apprised you all that was coming up, and you chose, I guess, not to involve more,
But they're the type of ADA ramp that spits the wheelchair person out into the street rather than.
So they were set up for the crosswalks, and all that was looked at with their engineering.
Who made the decision to put in the curb ramps?
We had to, we're
Yeah, we didn't
mandated
make
to
that decision.
update to ADA regulations when we resurface. It's
I don't
considered a
mind being
highway.
involved in decisions we make.
I hope you're not feeling like we're attacking you.
No.
We're not trying to, we're just saying that in this case, I think what Pat's saying is, it's not that we did, you guys, we had to do those ADA compliant ramps. Could the design have been tweaked a little bit, perhaps to make it a little easier for someone, say, in a wheelchair or even a kid on a bike? So instead of going out to turn to go in that direction they want to, maybe had been more in line with the direction they want.
Every single one was looked at, and either they were engineered if they had to be, or they were looked at by someone from Public Works and evaluated and put in the best spot they could be put.
And so that's where I think we're saying is, that's where we would like to have input. In that, let's look at this thing and design it. And then you could say, hey, you could bring it to us and say, hey, this is how we're planning on doing this. And we could say, is it possible to do this or this? And then you guys could either say, no, because of certain rules, statute, funding requirements,
So
or sure.
So something like that would take a separate thing offline of this, you're asking, to look at plans and so on and so
Well, I don't
forth?
know, Debbie, do you know if that has to be something that has to be in a meeting?
I would think, yes, it would need to be at a meeting.
That's what I thought, but I don't know about how the cities then with their plans, how public they want plans at certain stages.
And I don't think this would be the place to,
Right.
or the time to discuss something like that. I mean, it's,
Or it might be that we have a subgroup of the committee that looks at those,
That could be.
comes into the office or something and looks at them.
That would probably be more appropriate.
And more efficient.
On the Delight project, this committee has been indirectly involved with it, with both doing the walking count there that Wayne was involved in. So we kind of know what the school district, because we've gotten the school district's plan of on Delight going from Cummings to the end of their property, and having Bill out there showing this is where we're going to start, which was right where they end.
Right. Now that had something to do with the safe route to school, though, right? Or more
That was the
intimate
bond.
involvement with it?
Well, the school portion is part of the bond. Our portion, the city, and correct me if I'm wrong, our portion, we were hoping to be part of the safe routes, but it didn't turn out to be. And Bill had one thing in Kaiser, we don't have a lot of money to do things, so we have to save up, and that's what the city did, was save up to have enough to do Delight. And this is based on a complaint and concern brought by the Neighborhood Association several years ago. I think this committee remembered when the principal came and testified.
Has there been a public information meeting about that project?
So this is something that I was going to speak on
Yeah,
during my
you
staff
can talk.
report, but since we're bringing it
Okay.
up right now, Tuesday, October 29th, right here, is an open house, we'll call it, open house forum, and Bill Lawyer will be discussing the project, I will say. It starts at 6 o'clock, and let me make sure that's right, it's 6. Yeah, and it'll be for those neighbors along Delight Street that will be involved, the property owners that will be involved. So from Dearborn to Shamawa, those neighbors will be given a letter and they can come here. There'll be a drawing of what we're planning on doing. Well, it's more, well, I call it a drawing, but you know, it'll be something that they can see and blown up and big enough to understand what's going on. And it's a 10-foot asphalt path starting at the edge of the asphalt on the west side of Delight, going from Dearborn and tying in right there to the sidewalk at the apartments.
Which is on the correct side that McNary High School has a sidewalk on.
Yes.
Yeah.
There'll be a fog line on both sides, and that fog line will separate that 10-foot multi-use path is what it basically is. So there was talk at some point about separating from the edge of asphalt, putting some type of separation between the edge of asphalt and that path, but that's not doable. So it's just going to be a widening of Delight Street, and then, like I said, delineating it on both sides with the fog line. So.
Okay. No, I don't think I heard it correctly. When you were saying who's going to be getting directly notified, who will that be again?
Those property owners on Delight Street, on both sides of the street from Dearborn to Shamawa. So everyone within that area that'll be affected.
Because the sidewalks that the school district's doing, are they going around the school there to Dearborn then? To their, into their line, do you know?
We have not heard much about.
It's on the internet, I guess.
Bill hasn't heard much about what the school's doing. There's been some talk about something on the inside of the fence, and we kind of knew about that. The school, there's an email that talks about not stopping at their property, but going an extra, whatever that, 35 feet or what that is, and extending through the gentleman's property on the corner there, and then stopping. Then the kids will cross the street and tie into what we've added, the 10-foot asphalt path and down. So, and that's.
See, what the project, total school district project is the sidewalk along Delight, along Cummings, and just on the other street, right there.
So we can be here on 29th and talk about that.
Okay.
All right.
And so you'll give us more information on upcoming plans?
Well, I think what we need to do is we should, first, if this is acceptable, having a subgroup of the committee that would come in to meet with planning and public works, I guess, to review projects at that early phase and add comments or have comments that on the designs or maybe in addition to.
Again, it's more so that's for us to design, and then, of course, you understanding what's going to be out there, and then with me keeping you apprised, going from there of, hey, I thought of this, and coming up with whatever that idea or design is, and then going from there and presenting that to council. So when it comes to the design part, that's for us to design, I will say, and then.
Right, and I'm not trying to say we're gonna, we're engineers and we're gonna design it, but it's just, if we can bring ideas or suggestions at that early phase, and really the only way we can do that is seeing some plan.
Yeah.
And in the absence of having it here, having the subgroup come to you to take a look at it, maybe they need to come back to us and we would talk about it and then come back to you with any suggestions.
I'm a little confused, having been on budget and planning and things. Counselor, isn't it true we don't do too many things that aren't coming from planning originally? Major projects. So why I would bypass looking seriously at the long-range plans that lay out, there's not going to be any big surprises anywhere that's not there. And so, they're not doing anything secret. It's right there written out what they're going to be doing. Now, there might be something like the state says you got to make Lock Haven 6 lanes or something, in which case I'm sure need more input to the state, but whatever. But most of it's in the plan, and it seems to me that we need to pay more attention there, and maybe somebody from here would want to show up and comment when the planning commission's making a decision to increase make such and such street a feeder street. Those are in the long-range plan.
But does that long-range plan say, at this corner, we're gonna have a bulb out?
No, it doesn't, but the fact that you would like it in the long-range plan, or you want to set, I want Verda, in the long-range plan, we're going to limit the speed limit and make sure that all of these traffic speed mitigating factors are involved. That would be in the plan. And it's the fact that it's not may upset some of us.
I think that's.
But we weren't there to put it in, and so we got to make sure we show up like it's being revised right now, to be there to put that input in now, not after the plan's been done.
But it's not going to say, it's going to just say what the project is, repaving or sidewalk from point A to point B. It's like, for instance, on the Delight Avenue, somebody can go to this meeting on October 29th and see at where Delight Street crosses Dearborn, are there going to be painted crosswalks or not painted crosswalks? Is something that I discussed with Bill Lawyer when we were working on the Safe Routes to School application. I was quite surprised that the plan was not to stripe the crosswalk there when we were trying to create that as a highly visible and encouraged corridor for the children. So that type of thing, I don't know if the neighbors, they're going to be concerned clearly what happens in front of their own property, but they might not have thought of a detail such as that, and whether it's going to be safer and more effective facility in the long run with striped crosswalks at that corner or not.
Here's an opportunity that they're arranging for us to go.
Exactly, so.
Right. But
So,
I guess
they're already
instead of
doing it.
Right, but instead of doing one-offs, I guess we're looking to have a broader, just a part of the plan. So.
I don't want to get into where we're micromanaging.
No, it's more of, hey.
But have opportunities to give some consumer input.
Yeah, user input.
Yeah, but versus trying to micromanage, because I'm not an engineer, I'm a cyclist, and I can talk about cycling issues and things that make sense to me walking, but engineering, I don't want to get into that.
Sure.
And I think we could have ad hoc committees, small committees, help Mike on particular issues in the future. If there needs to be.
but we need, but most of this, and you were on the planning commission,
Right.
A lot of this could be in, the fact that they don't put it in doesn't mean they couldn't have. So you need to say, when they said, we're gonna put this as a thoroughfare, make it 35 miles an hour, or whatever, have the state set the speed limit on it, to come back in after that plan has been done, and say, oh, wait a minute, how come you didn't tell me? Well, you had an opportunity every day we met to say something. And I'm always amazed at like here, we get excited when 3 people show up, And I'm at a planning commission meeting that's setting how many police officers we're gonna have. And we have one person show up advocating, adding money in the budget for police officers. That doesn't seem to me, with 40,000 people, like some great big demand to increase the police force. We did, but you didn't get the public banging on the door. We didn't have 50 people here at the budget committee meeting asking for that. We didn't even get a petition from anybody or a neighborhood association asking for that increase. We might get complaints, but that is built into the system.
Well, I think you would.
And we're not, people, and maybe us, not availing ourselves to what is available.
Okay.
I think it's really difficult because right now, Kaiser's going to start into a new planning process for the transportation system plan. That's a 10-year plan.
Yes.
And to get people excited about a project that's 10 years down the road with details is really difficult. So you get it in, but even if you are paying attention and you get a project in the plan that you want, and 8 years down the road, maybe you got money for all of it, maybe you don't. It's got to go, maybe has to go through this Salem Kaiser Area Transportation Planning Policy Committee.
Yes.
It has to go through engineering and comply with all federal rules and state rules. And by the time you get to the level where it's actually in our faces that this is going to happen to a street that we're concerned about or an area that we see problems with, it's probably pretty well nailed down. And
Right.
maybe there are some small details that we can even fix up later. We can put a crosswalk in at any time. It doesn't have to be planned, I don't think. That's something you can add when you see that there's a need for it. So I think it's really, it's complicated to ask the city folks to have us review plans when most of it, by the time it gets to the planning stage in Public Works, it's
Pretty much a done deal.
engineered pursuant to all these other requirements, and there's not a whole lot of leeway. And it's been planned for 6 or 8 years maybe. And so I think we do need to be aware of this, and it would be great if, we could individually or as a committee or whatever, participate more in the planning process. And I'm hoping when the transportation system plan is being revised, that, there'll be public input into that, because that's the big structure, and then you winnow it down. And, if you want to go to the SCATS policy committees and argue for
Yes.
one project or another, they're open to the public. But boy, they hardly ever get anyone in there either. There's very few public people who have input into projects that are going to get the majority of the money, the federal money. So I think it's great that we do want to be involved, but there's only some maybe projects, and maybe that's up to the discretion of the Public Works. I don't know how we got to the comment on the sidewalk on McLeod, how that came to us, but that was kind of fortuitous, so we did see that in time to comment on it.
Bill was in your role, and he just brought it up, and the question came up that, what about kids walking across? Oh, but it was early enough in the project
Right.
that we were oh yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
Well, and that's, I guess, really what we're saying. If it's early enough in the project where we're not talking major changes, just tweaks,
And like that was one on McLeod, that was one that was like, yeah, we can do that, it's not a problem. The contractor.
So that was the stipulation of that being built, is they had to pay X amount to go so far, and then the city would pay the rest of the way. So, and that was a really neat project that, floating sidewalk and got taken care of, and so, good
it
example.
does serve a need
Yeah.
in the neighborhood. But we were able to get our 2 cents, and it was brought by Bill to this committee, and we, ooh, what about a sidewalk here? He's like, yeah.
Okay, well,
How about if I talk, let me talk to Nate and see where, and if any, input from this committee. So we all individually can go talk, but is there a role for this committee in the long-range transportation plans? I think if there is, at least we'll get a handle on where and when we can input into it. Now, if you're just talking about minor things, I don't really care.
Well, clearly, from my end, the long-range plans on bicycle, and especially bicycle, yes, we have input. And Michael, you're still on the planning commission, correct?
I'm not now.
He's turned
you're
down.
Okay.
Do you have anything else to say before you leave?
Yeah, well, I was just saying, I have to leave, I have to be home at 7:15, so I've distributed to Debbie and also now to the committee members a handout that comes from the Oregon Pedestrian and Bicycle Design Guide, and I don't have time for me to participate in it, but Hirsch, it relates to, I brought this because it relates to our question on the street by Kaiser Elementary. So maybe if you guys want to read it and look at it, as to like whether or not a bike lane is needed, and maybe we just want to look at that and talk about it next time.
That would give us some time to talk with Mike about, Bill mentioned that there was possibly on that section a unknown requirement to have a bike lane there.
Is this McClure?
Yeah, McClure.
There's a bike lane on both sides.
Right, but there
Have to be there.
Yeah.
there was a thought maybe it shouldn't be there.
There was a stipulation as to why it was there, and we're
And
not
Bill
going
was
to
saying,
remove
well,
it.
see, it was built when that was county. So.
Who knows what the county's going to do?
You need to say it again, they didn't hear you. He said,
Yeah, we don't have plans to remove it, I guess, is what I said.
But one of the things, that there was some sort of mandate that had to be there. And if we, as a city, arbitrarily take it off, would we have to pay funds back, or, you know what I mean? So was there some sort of mandate that is supposed to be there? Because it was built as part of that total Lock Haven project.
Well, I guess you gave me something to look into.
Yeah, so.
I'll get back to you.
The problem that, as described, by the person who came and testified, I went out there and observed, and at drop-off times in the morning, there's parking in there, not as much as I would. It's not overwhelming in the morning. In the afternoon, it's pretty good there. But the longest one I timed was a person parked there for 10 minutes.
Occupied or unoccupied?
Occupied.
On Wood Street?
McClure, in front of Kaiser Elementary.
So Bill said we wouldn't be removing it. Maybe that's something that you should talk to Bill about.
Yeah, well.
I mean, I understand your, what do you?
That's a tough street.
Yeah.
The cyclists on the whole don't use that.
No.
The kids, I watched on the way in the morning, and they use the sidewalk. On their bikes, yeah.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, you've seen it because
Yes.
we're neighbors.
Now, going in the morning, they do. But in the afternoon, a lot of times they don't. They'll use the street, which is weird.
Yeah, especially since they can get across the street with the crossing guard real easy, and she's very effective there.
There's just so much traffic that they want the kids to use the sidewalks.
Right, so I understand. It boils down to an enforcement thing. And we've been over that. several times, and
Unless we're ordered differently, I mean, it's.
I'm not criticizing. I know what happened over on Heron at Lamb Elementary. And we don't want that to happen in Kaiser, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But it'd be nice to find out if, in fact, we could remove that without causing some other unforeseen repercussions.
I thought we had put this to rest last meeting.
So did I.
It came up
To recap my memory, I believe it was, we know it's a half-hour issue during the drop-off and the pickup, and the other 23 hours of the day, it's an effective means for bicyclists potentially. So it was kind of, it was like a lesser of evils to leave it as is, knowing what we know.
And I reinforce what you just said as far as times.
Okay.
Okay.
If I may, the minutes, talking about that, was pretty much just what Hirsch had just said again. And Pat and you had said that you would go talk to the principal.
And I have not talked to the principal.
But as far as removal of it, it was not really considered an issue at any point anymore. That gentleman who comes to complain just does that every few years. He doesn't even live in the area.
Thank you.
Okay, well.
Moving right along.
Moving right along, yeah. So the next one was the school zone speed limits, and I know that there's a mandated distance from schools, that you have to have the school zone and at least some type of signaling that you're in a school zone.
Who sets where the school zones are?
The school.
The school?
It's actually, I mean, it's designed by Public Works. There's actually statutory guidelines as to proper posting and everything else.
So when
within
you
school
have a
zones.
school zone up on Wheatland Road, even though there's no,
That's because there's a crosswalk.
I know, I'm just saying, that's
Again,
all in there.
there's certain statutory guiguidelines that
We
that
have
meet
one there,
where
Riley.
certain things have to meet certain guidelines, and
Right.
again, it's all regulated.
It isn't because you like it, you went and put the sign up, or Mike likes it and he put.
No, that's federal guidelines. It has to meet this
That's what I
criteria,
thought.
Right.
and then it's
Statutes.
then it's
Okay,
there.
now, Mike,
So what I was wondering was, so, say Lock Haven, for example, you have the signs on the east and west end of Whitaker. Is it a statutory guideline that it stops where it stops, or was that a beyond the guideline but an allowance that the city has decided, well, we're going to go to here?
Because there's so much school, I know I couldn't recite what the federal guidelines are, the recommendations are, but there's so much different surface area. If it falls along the side of a road, then they're extended in distances and things like that. I believe even having Gubser being down where it's at that point, and it being a major crossing for Gubser still at the 14th, that it extends that school zone. And I'm going off by going years back into that memory aspect of it. But I'm about 99% sure it was statutorily put up by distance, not just a random, we're going to put it up here.
No, and I didn't mean that to sound like it was just a random, but sort of okay, we have this guideline where we're going to do it, and we're either going to follow that guideline or we're going to choose to go X feet further because of.
So you wonder if it's a minimum or
Well, so I'm assuming there's a minimum distance from schools.
probably a specific foot.
And that would be out of my, my pay scale, but that would be out of my range of that.
Is there an issue with it?
Well, what I'm wondering is, do we consider the, I don't know what you'd call it, the school shed, if you want to call it, where, you have neighborhoods that feed the school. So you're going to have kids coming in from that, because it's not until, a mile from school that they can get bused, I believe, for at least elementary school. So somewhere between the end of that speed zone sign and a mile, there will be kids walking to school or biking to school. So is that considered, you're saying no?
It's not a 1 mile radius or anything else like that. there are certain guidelines that go in that they have to meet certain areas. So we couldn't just go on to the next adjoining street and say, like, we're going to go 14th down where it turns into Kafer. Now we're going to turn Kafer stretching into a school zone. We couldn't just randomly go do those things. So I can't tell you what those specific guidelines are. I'm sure you could actually look it up. But we can't just randomly go out and just choose to do those things.
My understanding is the school district has some input on that also, because I brought up the issue about McNary High School, and I found out high schools don't really apply to that.
There's certain exemptions.
Yeah.
There are.
Because I was wanting a school zone for McNary. Yeah, I learned that
And it was looked at years ago, and it didn't, an engineering study was done, and it didn't meet that criteria that we spoke on, that the Gupser schools and the Whitaker schools and Clear Lake and so on and so forth.
The elementaries and the early junior highs or middle schools meet the criteria.
Because you're right, we brought that up about McNary here, quite a few
years ago, yeah.
Could you, if I wasn't here for that, do you remember what that's, you're saying McNary doesn't fall under those?
At the high school.
Is that it?
That, and it didn't meet the guidelines that we follow for all the other school speed zone areas that we put up with other schools.
To put it in real layman terms, the speed zones are focused at the wee ones.
So, Chair, and just to reference back to what's your actual concern with that?
Well, I'm wondering, so like I said, I know at least at elementary schools, kids will not have the option to take a bus to school until they live a mile away.
So every one of our little feeders that are around even Lock Haven are all 25 mile an hour zones.
Right.
So our school zones would be dropped to 20, so we don't have any significant speed ranges within that. So I guess that's where I was trying to figure out what is the biggest concern.
Well, I mean, in the example I did, with Lock Haven, so you go from 20 to 35. So there is a big jump there. And it's a busy street. And that's
So
me
you're
where I am.
thinking maybe we should extend
So I'm wondering if
the school zone all the way down to River Road.
I was just thinking, is there accounting for the area that feeds the school, how the speed limit zone is designed?
Well, I can talk about Kaiser Elementary because I was on the PTA LSAC when that school was opened because my kids were going there. And the speed zone on Lock Haven was established. And then there's another school zone on Windsor Island Road and that was based on the number of kids from the apartments and that side of the street and they kind of created a corridor that kids could walk and ride down there. So that was input from, I guess, the school district. It wasn't just, the police determining it.
So it sounds like they were considering where kids were walking from.
Yes.
Not just
Yeah, because we gave input because the apartments were over there and we knew a lot of kids were coming from the apartments. And so my role and Mary Ann's and the principals at that time, Dave Guile, worked to get that over there.
But now bus picks up all those kids, and the bus actually goes down Willow Lake Road.
Yeah.
School bus. So that's what they did was they lowered, I think, where they pick up kids with a school bus, because it used to be a mile.
Right.
But it's not anymore, because my granddaughter's like not even half a mile away, and she
But
can
when
take
it
the
was
bus.
established,
Yes, that's correct. And they just never removed it.
And that's been that way for, whenever that school opened.
Yeah.
So
maybe we need to look at the rules for establishing.
Yeah, I think that would be state and local rules.
Well, I would,
And
school district has a committee that does look at that.
Okay.
All right. So we need more information about those guidelines. Okay.
Does anyone want to work on that with me?
We can help.
Okay. You have all these connections.
Not so much anymore, but.
Okay, well, we will do that and then we can talk about it again next month. Okay. All right, well, now we're finally at number 6. Project reports. We can start, Pat's not here, so we'll start with Wayne.
Bike parking facilities at schools and parks. A few months ago, I checked the bike parking availability at each of the schools. And then I also went out a second time to determine usage at the schools for just one day on a normal day, and haven't done anything since then. So I really don't have any further update.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Kathy?
I actually do have some spots on my map that I noted could benefit from sidewalks, or at least better separation from the street. And I also thought I need to look at the transportation system plan and see what it says about sidewalks. And I don't think it's real specific. I think we're going to build sidewalks wherever we can, as much as we can, but maybe we need to get a little more specific. So if I get my act together between here and the end of December, I'll try to put the two together with, what maybe needs to go into the TSP or what we need to bring up when that's getting revised, and some maybe glaring lacks of sidewalks or safe walking areas in the city.
Okay.
I would like to put on a future budget, whether or not this committee wants to go on record to the budget committee to request sidewalks in Kaiser in some sort of uniform, like we're going to do 1 mile a year.
Have a definite plan.
You have a definite plan and recommend that so they can budget it. For us to talk about sidewalks under the current policies and budget it's just a waste of time. They may or may not occur like up around the school or something, or in a situation where it's a real issue. But if we're talking about the neighborhoods and there's, I suspect, hundreds of miles where we need sidewalks, if we want to go to the budget committee and the city council and say, we want you to set a policy and we want you to budget for it in some sort of uniform yearly plan so that in 30 years we have sidewalks on every street in Kaiser. That would make sense. And then we need to be prepared to discuss that as a group between now and, say, March 1st.
Yeah.
That would be my, other than that, I don't even want to talk about sidewalks in Kaiser because it gets depressing.
Well,
But if we're not going to do anything where we ask the city council to do something about policy and the budget committee to do something about money, that's not a minor issue. It's a big issue and it's a big policy change.
Right.
So I think we need to get our ducks in a row.
So maybe you could explain this to me. If the council says this is the policy we're going to go to, are they directing the budget committee or is it the other way?
Counselor?
I'm sorry.
Just suppose, we made a recommendation that we would like the city council to endorse or develop a policy that says the city is going to put sidewalks in, 1 mile of sidewalks in, starting at the southern border in some sort of uniform way. And we asked, don't you the city council have to approve that as a policy change?
No, not necessarily. It depends what's in the transportation plan, but basically Public Works would come to us and say, if we did that every year, this is how much we'd have to put in our transportation budget. And then it would have to say, can we do that, right?
Okay.
Can we afford to do that?
But that's the budget committee decides whether or not.
That's the first step.
Or
Well, that's
does
the first
city
step.
council-
The first step is like, how much is it going to cost on a yearly basis, first of all? Where the needs are, what's in the transportation
Correct.
plan.
And how we're going to use the money and so forth. But that needs to go to the city council first, correct?
No, it would
Budget
go,
committee first?
it would go to budget first.
Right.
Because city council approves the budget, right? So, but it would have to come from Public Works, right? So Public Works, it would have to come from them.
To request?
To request it in their budget, or to have someone say, I need to add to the budget this amount of dollars every year for sidewalks. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, it just doesn't going to come out of the air unless we invent the wheel.
Then who do we, if we decide as a group that we want that to happen, who do we communicate with?
Meet the budget committee first.
Yeah, well, because you're an advisory committee, so then we would take it upon the city council, yes, to see if we want to direct staff then to.
To look at it.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So we could by, let's say, February 1st or something, make some sort of statement one way or the other. Now, if the city council decides that they don't want to do it, I would suggest that we just drop it for a couple of years. Now, I'm not going in and ask for a sidewalk in front of Cummings Elementary or sidewalk when I know it's not in the budget.
Right, but
I mean, I can go and ask for it,
Clark Avenue.
well, whatever, but there's 100 of them in
Right,
budget.
because our transportation budget barely allows us to pave the streets
I
that we
know
pave each year, let alone put the sidewalks in. So that's like it's a big ask is what I'm saying to you.
Yes, it is.
Not sure that that's something that we really could do, and so we would look at that if
Yes.
that came to us and have to look at that full picture, so.
Right, and that would.
'Cause we'd
that's
have to
the
give up
process.
something to do
That's
that.
the process, though,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, that's the
Okay.
process.
but I don't see any harm in asking every year. If they say no,
Well, you can go to the budget committee and ask every year.
Well, there are other places where you can get money too. I mean, the STIP are federal funds that come through ODOT.
Right, but they
And-
don't come to the traffic safety committee.
No, but you can lobby, I mean, I guess you could go to the city council.
Yes.
Our staff is very good about finding grants for specific things.
Yeah.
And Nate will apply for every grant in the world that he can, and so will Public Works.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that if that money was out there and we've tried for it and we haven't gotten it, we would still continue to try for it because we would like to see sidewalks too. So that's not something that we would just ignore. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if there are grants out there available, our staff is great about saying, look, we want to apply for this grant. We're like, go for it, you know?
We could be on, right.
9 times out of 10, we don't get those grants. Like the railroad, we wanted to, for the railroad crossing, we wanted to get a grant. We didn't get that grant, but we try because we want to try to improve Kaiser, right? And the livability in Kaiser, so we do. So we do
I
try.
just want to make sure we go through the
Yep.
formal steps.
That's fine,
not
yeah.
just-
Yeah.
right, yeah, well,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know.
So let's just put that on the,
Put that on the
can you
November.
put that on the agenda for November,
Yeah.
please?
Well, November or just,
No, we need to start. We may not do anything, but
all right.
What, develop a plan? Plan
we're
for
going to just put
sidewalks?
down universal
Well,
sidewalks.
we'll discuss
Sidewalks.
sidewalk plan,
Development
development
plan.
plan for the city.
Okay.
Thank you. The next one would be you and me, Kathy. I do know that the NACDO folks do, upon invitation, come and talk to cities. I don't know if we would be interested in maybe talking to our sister city to the south, if kind of a combined discussion with them.
Do you have to pay them?
I'd have to find that out. But just bringing the discussion up with them. I know they've invited people from time to time to come
Yeah,
talk
Chuck
about these types of
Marone
issues. Chuck
was
Marone
here,
and,
yeah.
and what was the guy's name?
Oh, God, I
From
can't-
Columbia?
Yeah, but that was Transit that brought that person.
Yeah, right, that's true. Well, I mean, Transit might be interested in that too. So,
Maybe we could work with some folks in the city of Salem.
right,
Because I know some city councilors that might be interested.
yeah, so
Okay.
you and I can work on
Okay,
that.
we'll work on that.
Okay, great. And last, but definitely not least, Hirsch.
Bike repair station, we have it. It's in the warehouse, transit warehouse. So our name's on it, it's been repaired. Where we're gonna put it, it's still up. I talked with the principal at Kennedy, he's all for it and is willing to go to bat as far as working with the district people. I still haven't gotten feedback from the Boys and Girls Club yet. But our name, Kaiser's name is on the bike repair station. We do have Plan B of down at Kaiser Rapids. This committee made that as another recommendation a few years ago. So this is a used one. It's not brand new, but it's been refurbished. It was the one that was at the transit center downtown. It was vandalized pretty badly and was used, we learned for our bike rack here, don't put it too close to the bike rack because they were using the tools to steal bikes and stuff. So Transit has it, it's in Kaiser's name's on it. So the only thing we would have to do is I'd talk with Mike and what the city may want to, your involvement or what the principal at Kennedy could work with Mike Shields with their public works with the school district.
So our name's on it, I'm just curious here, so how do we get it, or do we just go get it, or where are we at?
When we decide.
We find a place for it, and I just call Roxanne, and it's in the warehouse, just sitting there,
So we're waiting to see if Kennedy or Boys and Girls Club would like it, and if they do, we'll work on getting it to them, and if not, like your other great idea was at Kaiser Rapids Park, and we definitely will be on board for the install for that.
It's a used one, so my understanding as old state risk manager, public property can't go to private unless, you go through the bid process, but giving it to another public entity, no problem.
That's right.
So Hirsch, when you say that our name's on it, you mean like a toe tag, or do you mean like our name is literally Kaiser?
There is some masking tape that says Kaiser on it.
That's good enough.
I don't know if it'd be, I'm sure there's some cost, but it'd be cool if we could get Kaiser on it versus Kaiser alongside of it.
That would be probably something we would have to bear the cost on, but just getting it out here and not having to pay. We paid $1,500 for this last one, and Public Works, bless their hearts, installed it, which was well appreciated. The principal had an idea where to put it, but again, with the Boys and Girls Club there, we want to partner with them, and I haven't gotten feedback yet.
Okay.
May have stuff by next month.
Okay. Anything about McNary?
McNary, as I reported last month, Eric Jesperson, the principal, said, yes, it is definitely on the docket, but he doesn't want to do anything till the major construction at McNary is done. And then we'll work with we'll have to work with some fundraising to have it done. But right now, the idea is to use the CTEC Center. Mm-hmm. They have already designed bike racks and have those installed. The area is pretty much where everybody in the school district, where the existing bike rack is, which is, that bike rack was there when I went to school, and I parked my bike back in 1972 there. And so it'd be nice, and we'll get cement work and everything.
All right.
But not yet, not till all the contractors are out. And
Sure. Okay. Do we have any committee member input?
Yeah. Oh, well, you have
Wayne?
I have nothing there.
Tell them you went on the bike ride.
Cycle Oregon.
Cycle Oregon.
Yeah, I did Cycle Oregon. It's a week-long bike ride, 429 miles, 29,000 feet vertical, and up and down. It was near Crater Lake, was the premier day. I happened to miss that day because I rode too far the 3 days before that and the 4 days before that. So I had to take day 5 off. Anyway, I did that ride. It was a lot of fun, very challenging. Too far and too much elevation for old guys.
Well, congratulations for doing it.
Thank you.
Dave?
Yeah, budget, money, well, it's not budget, but money we had. We started July 1st with $654
This is for the helmet fund?
for the helmet fund, yeah, or whatever we have there. $654. We spent $552 plus shipping on helmets last month. We have $74.52 left for helmets. But the Lake
Point
Church owes us 300 in checks in the mail.
Yeah.
We deposited $150 from the open house Monday night. We sold about
21 helmets according to Mary Ann.
something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, deposit $150. So theoretically we're at 522, which isn't too bad. And we made a request. Well, I signed your name, by the way. To this Salem Bicycle Club for a donation from them for $200 for helmets. But we haven't got it, and I haven't received any information of whether they got. I sent a letter. I mean, printed it out, filled it out, sent it to them instead of emailing it. So.
It might get quicker if you just dropped it off
I
yourself.
should have given it. Yeah. Anyway, that's where we are money-wise. We got quite a bit of helmets. The last order came in. So we have a bunch of helmets. We're okay for a while.
All right. Okay, and I apologize for not being there. I was telling Hirsch I've been having back issues the past couple of weeks. So.
That would not have been good.
Yeah.
On the helmet thing, Sergeant, who is the person that we could contact in the police
The association?
association?
That'd be Officer DeMarco.
Okay, thank you.
He's the president.
Yeah. We could bum a couple $100 for helmets, don't you think? I know you're not speaking for them.
We could ask, right?
Definitely you could ask.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Would you like us to do that, Hirsch?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to do it?
Yeah, I can do that.
We could use the same
You guys
form.
asked the firefighters association too?
No, we haven't.
Well, you should ask them too.
Who's the contact?
I think Brian Butler, or at least last I knew, is Brian Butler, I think.
Okay, I'll put me down to talk to
Save the
them.
EMTs somewhere, having helmets.
That's right.
A couple $100, we can do tremendous amount of helmets for $200.
I figured that once. I tried to remember if somebody gave me $100 for helmets, I could buy like 15 helmets. But then I generate $75 out of the 15 helmets. And which turns around with the $75, I can turn around and buy 10 more helmets, which generates $50 and I can buy. So, well, I mean, it's kind of important. If you give me $100, I get a lot more than $100 for the helmets out of it.
Yeah, so
we lose money, we just lose it slowly.
Trickle.
But David and I were talking a little while ago about how many helmets we've done since this program started in '97, and 6,000 helmets on kids.
Yeah.
Wow.
Lots.
That's great.
And other stuff too, like I remember a couple of years we gave away 50 battery bike lights, or 100, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, thanks.
Kathy, you have anything?
Nope.
Okay. So Mike, did you have anything else to say besides what we talked about already?
No, our open house went well. I walked over to the fire department for a little bit, and I did see a bunch of kids around getting tons of helmets. So, yeah, it was a good night. The weather was good, and yeah, it was a great night. Other than that, I spoke on a few other things, and I guess the last one is our storm crew is just about done with the catch basin and manhole inspections. They just have a small amount left, which is, well, small but big. It's the main thoroughfare, River Road, Lock Haven, and then through Kaiser Station, and that we get flaggers for that, and they'll be doing that next week. So
I did want to mention, just suggestion at the next open house next year. Do you guys own a jackhammer?
Oh yeah.
Well, I thought some people would really have fun if we could tear up some of the asphalt out.
Who's going to pay for fixing that?
Oh.
Well, how much money do we have?
We don't have that much money. I just thought maybe there's something you want torn up.
Yeah, no,
I don't want to do it. I'm too old.
No, it's a good idea.
That'd be fun. I want to try that.
I hear
I don't. Yeah.
I know you're not going to
I think they're kind of heavy.
to the asphalt.
But
some of us old guys would love just
But we have the equipment there for the kids to jump on, and
We'll get it.
that's it.
Okay. Sergeant Leday?
Nothing new to report this round.
You're not going to report on the Safeway incident? Oh, that has nothing to do with traffic. It's the first time I met a
Report on
reporter
traffic
from Fox News.
Yeah, right there.
All right, well, we have a guest counselor this evening.
Yes, I'm filling in for Mr. Dan. He's at the beach. So basically, the Kaiser Revitalization Plan came back to us again with some little tweaks that they had made before in that marathon meeting. This one was a long meeting too, just not quite that long. And so we passed it with a few tweaks. And so the staff is going to prepare the ordinance for it. And basically it gets rid of the overlay zone. You know, everything's going to be commercial mixed use down River Road. We did talk about extra sidewalks, but before they really want to sign off on all that stuff, they want to do a study. And so they're going to do a study. And so that's slowly going to happen.
You mean the crosswalk?
The crosswalks, I'm sorry. So that's slowly. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I know, but see, we've been talking about them, now you guys got me all confused. Anyway, yeah, so they want to do, you know, a study, traffic study and all that, what's feasible, where they should go and how many and stuff. So that's in there, it's down the road, but it's in there. So just so you know that that's there, okay? You saw the skate parks open?
Yeah.
Not one of them's wearing a helmet, by the way. That's a hard one to really police. Our police have a hard time, you know, going over. We can go over there and talk to them all day long, but, you know. But anyway, the big toy is just about done. All the poles have been put in, and so we're just waiting on the masts to come in, you know, the sails. And I don't think they're going to put those up, though, Mike, are they? That's for springtime, right? Summertime.
I'm thinking you're right on that one,
Yeah.
spring.
That makes sense.
So anyway, that's opening up again, so people are excited because we still have some nice weather. And then I found out, and I don't know if anybody else knows any other information, I found this out at a chamber meeting, is that In-N-Out, they're going to be opening in the next 4 to 6 weeks. They won't give us a day or a time. They said, we'll tell you the day before. They use their own traffic, my understanding, is that correct?
They have their own plans.
Their own plans, right. But ODOT is expecting to shut down probably 1, if not 2 lanes of southbound I-5 during that day. They're expecting 3,000 people.
What?
So we
For a
do have 2
hamburger?
traffic control lights to
Okay.
get through
Okay, good.
prior to getting actually into their business. So
Right.
we have electronic control devices that are in place.
Okay.
I'm going to Nancy Jones.
Nobody's committing any offenses waiting in lines.
Yeah,
So that's
exactly.
kind of one of those, it's a sit back and watch.
Yeah,
And
that's what we were kind of told too. So just
hamburger?
just so just for a hamburger. So just so you know, that's the plan that we know, right? We know the same thing you do, kind of thing. So
Put a toll gate at the Kaiser Station, see if we can raise enough money for a sidewalk.
yeah. Anyway, that's all I have. Unless you guys have any other questions, really. Yes.
On the revitalization plan, did they also, I think the city also postponed decision about the sidewalks? You know, whether to widen on one side or the other side?
Okay,
Did they put that
yes.
down the road too?
They did, but they talked about putting in on one side of the road, or it could be this side here and this side here, the widened pedestrian bike path.
Yeah, 'cause originally it was 10 feet on one side and
Right.
nothing on the other side.
Right, so it's only gonna be on one side of the road, but it could be on this side of the road halfway down, and then when the businesses or something widen on the other side, then it would be on that side. Are you following what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's got me really close up on that camera, I don't like that. Anyway. Did you notice that? It was
I did
really like
just now.
right
I've never seen him do that.
So anyway, yeah, so it's in there, but like I said, we're gonna be, staff will be bringing back the ordinance, and then Nate will have a copy of the plan for everybody to look at. You guys might wanna grab it and look at it to see the little tweaks we made.
Yeah.
And we're good to go.
All right. Well, if they need any input on their crosswalk audit or whatever they're going to
Now,
do.
the plans on the city website?
Will be, not yet.
Yeah, not
Because
yet.
it's not been, because the staff hasn't, we have to wait till they get it, the tweaks done that we did. Okay, then they're gonna, we directed staff to put together the ordinance to finalize it. Once that's done, then hopefully it'll be put on, I would imagine it would be put online, Debbie, yes?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Probably need to see it. So, May, can,
I can actually send you, I mean, the tweaks they made, I can even send you the draft minutes, where I've put the motions and everything in their friendly amendments and all of that. I can send you that, and I can send you the revitalization plan, if you'd like, via email. It's pretty big.
This is
It's pretty big.
exactly where we need to be.
Actually, I could send you the links, because it is
It
on
is
the
very big,
website
yeah.
already. It was in the
Yes.
packets, so, I can do that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that'd be great.
So, everybody?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
And Pat, too, I speak for her.
That's everybody.
Yeah. Okay.
Is it, one question on the revitalization plan? Is
Yeah.
Are they still open to input from,
No.
or have we already missed
No,
that
it's all
time,
done.
that window?
September 30th was the last day.
Okay.
Okay, well, that looks like we're at the end of the meeting, so I will adjourn it.